Your picture, Shane?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, there's no spiritual objection. I think, well, with me and music, I've probably been in music all my life. As far back as I can remember, when my dad used to DJ to me when I was a kid. When I say DJ, not with vinyl, but just like lyrically. He used to chat lyrics to me, like U-Roy. I don't know if you've heard of U-Roy. He's an old reggae artist from the Caribbean. And yeah, I've always been into music, beatboxing. But when I was about 8 years old, I started getting into breakdancing. I seen it. There was a lot of stuff going on in the UK. There were a lot of punks, mods, ska, you name it. There were all these different youth factions going around, and they all seemed to be pretty aggressive and violent. And I didn't really choose to be part of any of these factions. But when I seen hip hop, when I was 8, it was Rocksteady Crew from New York. I thought, you know what, that's my tribe. They're the people that I want to be down with. They look colourful. They look like they're fighting, but they're not fighting. They're doing it in a different way. They're battling. They're battling with their own body work, with their own bodies, which was breakdance. So since I was 8 years old, I've been involved with music and breakdance, and went through a stage of that, and then basically learned how to break, learn how to skip, learn how to do all these things as kids. We were poor, we never had any money, but this was something that was a street. It was something that, you know, anybody could access, and it brought communities together. And we noticed that from a very young age, because a lot of racism in England and stuff like that. This kind of like broke down a lot of barriers like that, because there were kids from Seacroft, kids from Middleton, kids from Meanwood, Hyde Park, Chaptown, and we all got together and we danced. You know, but the football fans and a lot of the racist factions around didn't like that. They couldn't understand. How comes all these lot are in a big melting pot having fun? You know, that's hip hop. So years have gone by, and and schooling, and you know, schools didn't really want hip hop in schools because it seemed aggressive, or it seemed, you know, something that they didn't want in schools. Now they want it in schools. If you notice, I work in a lot of schools. I wasn't allowed to go to a lot of schools. I left school when I was 13 years old, and got involved in a lot of different criminal activities and stuff like that. But then realised in myself that, hang on a minute, I've got lots of siblings, lots of little brothers that are looking up to me. I need to do something different, you know, because they're following me into this world of crime or what have you not. And so I started using my hip hop skills, what I developed from when I was a child. And unfortunately, one of my brothers, one of my young brothers, called Danny, got into crime. But he was really good. He would have been good at anything, just like myself. If he put his mind to it, he got good into it. But he got into crime. But unfortunately, 10 years ago, he was murdered in Liverpool. And 10 years ago today, actually, he was murdered in Liverpool. And basically, we was really upset and frustrated about all this kind of stuff. But then my mum, a couple of years after his death, started Mothers Against Violence out of the death of my brother. And she became a really heavy campaigner. She went into schools, youth clubs, different communities, teaching kids about how not to end up in these gangs, because this is what usually ends up. You end up dead, and you end up with a big bag of clothes, designer clothes, loads of money you've earned going back onto the streets. You know, your family's distraught, all this kind of stuff. So she taught a lot of people about the effects of bereavement and murdering and gun crime, and a lot of kids who thought being a gangster was clever and all that kind of stuff. But then unfortunately my mum passed away in 2008. Ironically, she was killed by her grandson, who stabbed her to death. He was mentally ill, but we took him to the hospitals, got him assessed and stuff like that. They was aware of his illness, but they still sent him home with my mum. And through them sending him home with my mum, he had a psychotic episode, and he killed my mum in 2008 on the 1st of June. So that was another blow within the family. But that didn't stop us from being positive, taking the negative to become positive. My brother died in 2002. My mum took the mantle and said, look, do you know what, this has got to stop. There's a lot of young people that think this gang life is really, really interesting and really, really something that, you know, they want to be part of. They want new trainers, they want to be down with the new crew, they want cars, they want money. You know, she told them, look, don't follow that dream. It's something that you'll never be able to really obtain. And whenever you do obtain it, it will have an effect. And the effects could be this or that, rah, rah, rah. So basically she created a positive out of a negative. And 2008, when my mum passed away, I decided that, you know what, my mum's work is not going to go into vain. I'm going to use the platform and the experience that I've got with the hip hop and all the teaching that I've done, all the network of kids that I've worked with throughout Britain, and I'm going to get these guys to help me turn what they do back out into the streets to help maybe stop other kids from getting involved in gangs, or some people who are in gangs to maybe say, hang on a minute, we need to look at this and come out of this and maybe start doing some more creative stuff with the kids, which might keep them away from the creative, materialistic world of being a gangster. Oh, I want this, I want that. You know, these are all things that are all materialistic, but actually, when you look at hip-hop, hip-hop's more of an spiritual, building, confidence, credible entity that youth are attracted to. And you know, it has negative elements at the moment, but fundamentally the basis of hip-hop are positive. They bring people together, they teach people skills, teach people about respect, true respect, street culture, and also keep people occupied from actually being, you know, attracted to all these negative things. So basically, I started a thing called Speak to the Streets, and Speak to the Streets is basically where people with experience, people with skills, people with knowledge of themselves and street culture go out and speak to the streets. And the streets really is a metaphor for young people, because that's where we learn a lot of our skills, respect, manners. So basically, I go out and speak to the kids, and with a team of people, we do that, and with a new generation of hip-hoppers, I'm hoping that we'll do that too.
Because you're getting a bit old for it, really, are you?
No, well, I'm getting better as I get older, believe it or not. I was a UK champion in 2008. I don't know how old I was then. I think about 36 years old. So now I'm like 40 years old, I'm still rocking, still doing shows,
You're young.
getting down. You know, I could do it more verbally now rather than physically. I'm going through more of an... you go through stages in your life, you know, and development stages. And I think, you know, I've been through the physical, and I think right now I'm going through the spiritual and the more thinking, so I can speak to a workshop as opposed to demonstrate. I can actually instruct them with my mouth, and, you know, and stories, and basically inspire them to develop themselves and their own characters and their own individuality. So that's where I'm at now, just going around teaching kids pre-gang education, because that's basically what it is to me. It's like, if I can stop these kids or educate them before they actually come across this stage in their life where they're going to be tempted to be part of a gang or tempted to want to earn money, they might have second thoughts. So that's what I do. I try to get to them before the devil, I suppose, gets to them and starts saying, you know what, I've got some money for you, kid. I can take you out of this area, I can take you over here and there, and, you know, it's short-lived. I try to give people skills for life, and that's basically what I do. However I do it, whether it's through dancing, whether it's through music, whether it's through video, whether it's through creating a stage, an event for them to perform and show their skills, just giving people hope and an interest, you know. And that's basically what saved me from probably being the first one of my mum's children to be dead through crime, was my art form. And so I believe that if you do have an hobby or an interest or an art form, that can save you and bring you through the other side of what is out there these days. So that's my ethos, and that's basically what I do in kind of a nutshell. It's a bit more complicated than that, but, you know, this is me.